Hi everyone, I'm Ankit and welcome to this PMP Quick Fire PESTLE quiz. Now this video will walk through 15 practice questions. I will read each question, tell you the correct answer, explain why that option is right. But not only that, I will also show you why other options are wrong and give you a short PMP exam tip so that you can quickly spot the right factor under time pressure. Now, this is the first video in an ongoing series of PMP topic quizzes. So if you like exam style practice, stick around. Now, before we start, a tiny cheat sheet so you can memorize. Remember, in PESTLE, political means government policies, tariffs, subsidies, import restrictions, etc. Legal will have pointers like law, regulation, mandatory compliances. Economic will have hints like inflation, purchasing power, GDP, cost price drivers, etc. Social will have demographics, cultural trends, behavior changes, protests, etc. Technological will have AI, internet penetration, automation. Environmental will have climate changes, drought, rising sea level, sustainability drivers, etc. So let's start with the quiz. All right. The first question is country a country imposes high import tariffs on foreign automobiles to protect local manufacturers. Which special factor does this represent? It has four options: economic, political, legal, or technological. Let's think about it. I'll give you 15 seconds for that. All right. Let's see what the correct answer is. The correct answer is B, political. Now understand, tariffs are a government decision about the trade policy, right? The root driver is a government policy to protect local industry. That's political. Now you might think tariffs affect economy, and they do. But in PESTLE, we pick the cause. Here the cause is a government policy decision. Now let's talk about rest of the options as well. Economic, right? Now tariffs produce economic effect, but they are implemented via government policies only, right? So it's not an economic condition itself, it's a politically motivated one. Legal. Now, why it's not legal? Now, a law would be legal, but a tariff is a policy, right? Technological. So, obviously, the technological part is not involved here. So, here's a key takeaway from this particular question. If you see the words like government, policy, tariff, or trade restrictions, lean towards political. All right. I hope you like that question. Let's get to the next one. All right. Now, the next one is a global pandemic forces companies to adopt remote working practices. Which special factor is more relevant? Technological, social, environmental, or economic? I'll give you some time to think about it. All right, let's see. Okay, the correct answer is social. Now, a pandemic changes how people live and work, a behavior and social change. Remote work is a social adaptation. Now, why not technological? Well, technology enables remote work, but the driver here is a behavior change caused by the pandemic. It definitely is not environmental because pandemic is not an ecological issue. Understand, it does affect the environment a lot, but it was not an environmental issue. Economic, there are economic impacts, but the root driver is a social behavior. Now, if you get words like people, behavior, or work practices, lean towards social. I hope you like that question. I hope it was a challenging one. Let's get to the next one. All right. Okay. A country mandates that all packaged food must display calorie information. Which special factor applies? Social, legal, political, or environmental? Let me give you some time to think about it. Okay, let's see the correct answer. The correct answer is B, legal. Now understand, the word mandate in the question signals a regulation or a law, compliance requirements that makes it legal. Why it's not social? It reflects social concern for health, but the question says it's a mandate. Again, it comes back to the mandate part. So it's a legal requirement. Policies might lead to it, but the question emphasizes a mandate. So again, it's not political as well. Environmental is definitely unrelated. So what's the tip from this one? If it says mandate, must, law, regulation, lean towards legal. Let's get to the next question now. Right? Now, the rapid inflation reduces customer purchase power. Which special factor is this? All right, I'll give you some time to think about it. This is actually a no-brainer. All right. The correct answer is economic. Now, inflation and purchasing power are classical economic indicators. These describe the economical environment. Government actions can influence inflation, but inflation itself is economic, so it's not political. Consumer behavior does change, but the root is still economic, so it will not be social as well. And definitely it's not legal because there is no law involved in this, right? So what is the tip from this one? If you see words like inflation, interest rates, purchasing power, lean towards economic. Let's get to the next question now. All right. An oil company invests in solar and wind energy projects. Which special factor drives this? Environmental, technological, political, or economic? I'll give you 15 seconds to think about it. All right. The correct answer is environmental. Now, why environmental? Understand. The shift from oil to renewable is primarily driven by environmental concerns only. For the environmental concerns, sustainability, carbon reduction targets, and climate change considerations. That is why the answer is environmental. Now, tech enables the renewables, but the question asks what is the driver for this decision. So, it will not be technological. Now, policies will also influence this, but the primary driver statement is still environmental. Economic, the profitability matters, but the stable driver is environmental. Definitely not economic because profitability does matter, but the state driver is environmental. So, what are the tips? Look for phrases like sustainability, carbon, green. They are usually points towards environmental. Let's get to the next question now. Okay. Okay. Now, due to climate changes, rising sea level threatens your coastal project site, increasing risk mitigation cost. Which factor applies? Environmental, economic, political, or social? This is a good one. I'll give you 15 seconds to think about it. All right. The correct answer is environmental. Why? Because rising sea levels and climate changes are ecological issues. It's clearly environmental. Definitely not economic because the cost is rising, but the root cause is still environment. Not about government or social behavior as well. So it's definitely environmental. What are the tips? Natural events, climate, weather, sea level rises. These are all environmental issues. Let's get to the next question now. All right. Your competitor launches a new AI based automation tool that reduces manual work significantly. Okay. Putting pressure on your project team to innovate. Which factor dominates? It's a good one. Technological, economic, social, or a political? Think about it. I'll give you 15 seconds. Think of the driving factor, not the outcome. All right, let's see. The answer is technological. Now, the root cause is competitors' new AI tool. That's a technological advancement that changes the competitors' landscape. It's definitely not economic, while I understand that economic pressure follows, but the driver is still technology. Social. It's not primarily about human behavior or demographics. So, no, it's not social. It's definitely not political because there is no law involved as such. So, if the change is triggered by a tool, automation, AI, or infrastructure, try to pick technological. All right, a quick pause here. If this video is helping you, please hit like, subscribe, and bell so you don't miss the next quiz in the series. Thank you. All right, let's get to the next question now. Okay. New import restriction policy increases customers' duties on IT equipment your project requires. Which factor applies? Let me read it again. A new import restriction policy increases custom duty on the IT equipments your project requires. Which political factor implies? That's a good one. Legal, political, economic, or technological? Let me give you 15 seconds. Let's see the answer. All right. The answer is political. Now, an import restriction policy is a government policy decision. That's why it is political. Why not legal? It could be the law, but the question uses the word policy. Now, policy signifies political action. Economic duties affects cost, but the cause is still political, not technological, definitely. No need to explain that. Now, what is the tip from this question? A policy, tariff, import restrictions are all political. So if the question says the law requires, then it is definitely legal. Let's get to the next question now. All right. The population in your project target market is rapidly aging, leading to increased demand for healthcare related products. Which factor is most relevant? Social, environmental, economic, or technological? All right, think about it. Your 15 seconds starts now. Right? The correct answer is social. Now, population aging is a demographic change, which is a classical social factor, right? Not environmental. Now, demand in the market changes, yes, but the driver states demographical or a social change. So that's why it's not economic as well. Technological, obviously, it is not. Now, what are the key pointers from this? Demographics, population trends, cultural shifts. These are all social parts. All right. Next question is your project for e commerce expansion must slow down because internet penetration is low in rural regions. Okay. Now, which factor dominates this? Technological, social, economic, or political? I'll give you 15 seconds. All right. The correct answer is technological. Now, internet penetration is an infrastructure technological issue. So, you should choose technology. Adaptation matters in social. But the problem state is a lack of technical infrastructure, right? So it's not social. It could be related to economy, but the question points to tech availability. And there is no government law, so obviously it's not political. Now, now tips from this one. Infrastructure limits like internet, broadband, mobile coverage are all technological. Let's get to the next question. All right. A government subsidy for renewable energy project suddenly makes your solar initiative highly profitable. Which factor applies? Economic, political, legal, or environmental? It's a good one. Your 15 seconds starts now. Right? The correct answer is political. Now, a subsidy is a government policy instrument. It's a political action. The profitability is an economic effect, but the driver is a political decision to subsidize, right? Hence, it is political. Yes, it's a subsidy and has economic impact, but the question asks the factor causing the things. That is political. So it's not economic. It's not legal because it's a policy subsidy, not necessarily a law. Environmental, the sector is environmental, but the specific trigger is political. So what do we learn from this one? If you have points like subsidy, grant, tax incentives, think political. Let's get to the next question now. All right. Your software company must allocate more funds because a mandatory accessibility law requires your app to support differently abled users. Which factor dominates? Legal, social, technological, or political? Let me give you 15 seconds. All right. Correct answer is legal. Now, the question explicitly states a mandatory law. That's legal, right? So the company must comply. It's not social because the social reason exists, but the requirement is a law. Technology may be needed, but the driver is still a legal compliance. And definitely not political because it's not a policy decision in the wordings. So, what are the tips? If the phrase mandatory, law, or must appear, pick legal. Let's get to the next question now. All right. Your supply chain project struggles because extreme droughts are disrupting agricultural raw material supply. Okay. Which special factor is primarily economic, social, environmental, or political? Okay, 15 seconds starts now. Okay, the correct answer is environmental. Now, extreme droughts are climate events, right? So clearly it's an environmental factor, like I said in the tips in the beginning as well. Now, droughts are caused by economic impacts, but the underlying cause is still environmental. Not a primary driver, political and social is not a primary driver here. So that is also not true. Now, what are the tips? Natural disasters, droughts, floods, they are all environmental causes. Let's get to the next question. Okay. Your company is forced to invest in local hiring because the country is passing a law restricting foreign workers. Which factor dominates? Social, legal, political, or economic? All right. Let me give you 15 seconds. Okay. The correct answer is legal. Now, the key phrase is passes a law. Now, this is a legal regulatory change requiring compliances. So, it's legal. Why not political? Well, the policy leads the law, but the question specifies a law has been passed. So, the legal is more precise over here. Social and economic, they may be effects but not a primary factor, so obviously they are out. Now, what are the tips here? If your question says passing a law, it is legal. If it instead says government policy, you can still consider political. But if it says law, it's always legal. Let's get to the next question now. Okay. Now the public protest erupts against your project, claiming it will harm tribal land and culture, forcing leadership to pause implementation. Which factor applies? Social, political, environmental, or legal? That's a very tricky one. Let's see if you get it right. All right, your 15 seconds starts now. Okay, let's see. The correct answer is social. Now understand, this is a community opposition over cultural and social issues. A social factor. Now the protest reflects social values and community pressure. Hence it's social. Now why not political? Well, politicians might get involved later, but the root cause will still remain a social protest. Now understand, if the protest was only about ecology, we might pick environmental, but the question explicitly mentions culture, hence social. Unless the law or the court case is filed, it's not legal, so it's definitely not legal. So what are the tips here? Focus on the reason for the public reaction. Culture, identity, community issues, these are all social issues. Let's get to the next one. All right, so that was the last question. Now let me give you three quick takeaways. Find the driver. Is it a government action, a law, a market change, a technology, people, nature? Pick the driver, not the effect. That's how you will get the right answer. Watch for the keywords like law, mandate becomes legal, policy, tariff, subsidy becomes political, inflation, GDP, purchase power becomes economic, population, demographics, protest are all social, AI, internet, automation becomes technology, and drought, sea levels, climate becomes environmental. Now, the last pointer, when in doubt, ask who and what made this happen. This one simple question rules out distractors. Now, if this walkthrough helped, please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. And tell me in the comments which questions you found most trickiest. I'll include a follow up video explaining any question you choose in even more depth. Thank you for watching. I am Ankit. See you in the next video. We will tackle probably some more questions on another topic. Good luck with your studies. Thank you.
Looking for more PMP help? I've got ton of videos covering key topics, questions and tips. Just click on any of the thumbnails on your screen to keep going. See you in the next video.